Well, howdy do, buckaroos. This is Joe Leydon with Cowboys and Indians magazine. And today I am speaking with singer-songwriter J.D. Reynolds, an up-and-comer from the land down under. Good afternoon, J.D.
G'day, good morning to you. It's nice and early in the morning here.
Well, there you go. There you go. Congratulations on your new single, Whatever. And dare I say you sound a tad brassy and self-confident in this song. Do you see it as sort of an inspirational, anthem for ladies' night out?
I sure do. It's exactly what it is. It is a girls' night out anthem. It's power to the girls. It's go out, do whatever, be whatever, say whatever, and don't give a hoot about whatever anyone thinks of you. Go, girls.
Now, on the other hand, I wonder sometimes when I listen to something as powerful and as I say, assertive, confident, were there times in the recording studio when you were going, did that sound all right? I didn't sound too mean, did I? I mean...
It's funny in the studio. I'm a bit of a one-take wonder in the studio. I always say to the guys, record my warm-up session because I'm feeling it and I'm ready. So you always feel within your heart whether or not you've got the vocal that you want. And it's usually my first vocal that is always on point, which is really good. So not only is it time saving, but I feel that once you start repeating things over and over and over again, you lose that initial, that gut feeling that you walk into the studio with. So I'm blessed to have that one take vocal where I can just go in and just lay it all out there, sing what's in my heart and have it just come across great. So it turned out really well.
Well, do you see this also is in some ways kind of a counterpoint to your last single, which was sort of, looking back at 2020 going, yeesh, we were lucky to get over that one.
It is. True. Yeah, my first single this year in 2020, it was a bit angry and it was an emotional roller coaster, just filled with all of the emotions that 2020 brought to the surface for everybody. And then 2021 hit and I went, oh, whatever. I thought, right, that's the song for 2021, whatever. So yeah, it is. It's a total flip around from the first single to this single, and I'm really enjoying this single. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It does have some sass. It's got some attitude. It's got that girls' night out power anthem vibe to it, but it's fun.
Well, I've talked with other artists about what life was like during the lockdown, and some have said, well, they took the time to record a lot of music. And others said, no, they stayed away from music for a while and spent more time with their families or whatever. And some tried to strike a happy balance. How did you get through 2020?
I got through 2020 by just hanging out with my mum. I spent all of my time hanging out with my mum and in my studio. So it was a great chance for me to, look, I always try to see the positive things in life. It was a terrible year. Everyone had something to deal with, and I think that as a human race we got through it as best we can. And so for me, I found that time to just really sit down and reflect on everything, even your own mortality and your relationships with your friends and your family. And so I used those emotions to get into the studio and to start and hope, and it's almost finished, 95% finished, but to start and really polish off my album and just have no other distractions but music. So for me, it was all about music in 2020, and for my studio time, my writing, and just being away from everything, being away from the world. My mum and I, we just kind of locked ourselves in on our property. So we just had the animals and us, and I just wrote and spent that time really polishing up the album.
Now, your co-producer, your partner in crime for these two singles and the upcoming album, has quite a track record for himself. He seems to have a gift for spotting promising artists and wanting to work with them. How did this work relationship evolve? I mean, how did you meet him? And was this sort of an international, work relationship or what?
Oh, it's a funny story. I listen to a wide range of music, and I listen to all of the new stuff that comes out and the new albums. And I'm not only just listening to the artist, I'm listening to how the album is put together and the sounds and the musicians. So I was listening to Beyonce, and I was listening to Snoop, and I was listening to all of the Kelly Clarkson, all of these different artists. And when I'm listening to an album, I say, hey, there's that sound again. That's the sound that I want. And then I started researching these albums that I used to pick my ears up to and go, oh, hang on a second, I love this. And it was Braden Williams. And so I thought, oh my gosh, all right, he's the bee's knees of producers. I wonder if he'd like to work with me, the new kid on the block. So I was very, very persistent. I hunted down his phone number through many, many different channels. And I eventually got a cell phone number, and I rang him and said, hi, this is JD Reynolds. You don't know me. I'm new. I'm the new kid on the block. And I started singing down the phone to him. And I just wouldn't shut up. And I just sang, I said, this is my song. And I literally just gave him a concept down at the phone. And he said, wow. All right. And he actually said, wow, you're incomparable, aren't you? And I said, wow, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. And I said, look, I'd love to work with you. Just, forgive me for bombarding you with my phone calls, but it's just about me being a persistent pain in the butt. And in the end, he just said, yeah, I'd love to work with you. I love your sound. And he said, look, send me what you've got. So I sent him one song, and he contacted me straight away and said, we've got to do this. And so for someone who's just come off a Beyonce album and who's worked with, Kelly Clarkson and Snoop and the Script, and like I'm talking, everyone you can think of, for him to say, yeah, I'll work with you, JD, I was just truly honored and very, very blessed. And what we've come up with is just fantastic. It's a great sound. It's very original. The musicians that are involved in it are the best of the best. And so I'm just very blessed.
But I'm interested in the nuts and bolts of this. I mean, life during quarantine time. I mean,
Yep.
Did you send each other files over the internet, or
Correct. That is right.
Oh.
Yes. So everything was done digitally. Everything was done online. All of our meetings, all of our, even, just co-producing this album together, it was all done via email and just exactly like this. So I would be scatting with my voice, the guitar parts that I can hear in my head, and Braden will be there saying, right, okay, yep, we've got it. And it was a really interesting way to produce an album, but at the same time, I think it also made us dig in to the teeny tiny things of an album that you may not necessarily dig into if you're in the studio, and you might skip over a few things. So you literally just break it down into very, very, very small compartments of this album, and really just hone in on maybe just a banjo effect, or maybe just an effect on a guitar. And when I'm working in the studio with you, sometimes are just wrapped up in that studio atmosphere and that studio feeling, and you're bouncing around the studio instead of just being very quiet and in your cans and listening to every tiny little thing by yourself in the quiet. And I really do feel that just worked to our advantage because of just the beautiful artistry that is going into my album. The tiny little things have made just an enormous difference. And I think if it weren't for that 2020 period of us working through this album in such a unique way, by ourselves and then together and by ourselves, I don't think these little things would have maybe come to the surface.
What do you think of? What are the first names that come to your mind when I ask, who are your musical influences while you were growing up?
The kings, the queens, and the princes. The king of rock and roll, queen of country music, prince of pop, prince of everything, queen of the night, Whitney. Roy Orbison. But it was an influence from my mum. My mum brought me home from the hospital the day I was born and had these greats playing on repeat in the house, and they greatly influenced me. I love Elvis and I love Dolly. So I grew up listening to the kings and the queens and the princes, and I just love them. I love them. And, it's kind of funny when you lose an idol, especially when you lose somebody like Prince, you often think, oh, I wonder what he'd be doing now. I wonder what he'd be up to, because he's a magnificent songwriter, a real storyteller. And that's why I do love Prince, even though I'm a country girl and a country artist through and through. I did love Prince because of the fact that he's a storyteller, just like the greats of country music. They're good storytellers. So that's who I grew up listening to. But the more and more I heard country, the more I just loved it. And I knew I was a country artist. I think I was born an artist.
Now, when do you think the album will be complete?
Oh, it's about 99% there at the moment, and it's sounding amazing. I'm so excited for it. So I'm hoping to get that out there later in the year. Haven't set a release date yet, just like we didn't set release dates for the first two singles. I go by feeling. I go by, yes, okay, I feel it now. I feel this is the right time to release. And just like when I had my whatever moment at the beginning of 2021, oh, whatever, I just thought, great, this is a time to release whatever. So I'm hoping to grab that feeling, during the year, maybe later in your summer, where I just think, great, I've got that feeling to release, let's do it.
You have a title for it yet?
No, not as yet. Not as yet. Back and forth on the title. It is an emotional roller coaster, this particular album. So every track just keeps on jumping out at me to become the title. So I think that'll just me as well. I think it'll be a last minute decision. And I'm just going to wait for God to say, that is the title, and go with it.
Okay, a couple of final questions. What was the last piece of music you listened to before starting these interviews today?
I actually listened to Prince on the way here. Yes, he's the Vault album. I listened to Prince on the way here, and I also listened to what was on my playlist this morning? Prince. I heard Dolly. I was listening to Jolene this morning, and I listened to what is that song? But you can buy me a boat. I listened to that this morning, and I was trying. Yes, that was really cool.
So if I picked up your iPhone or whatever, wherever you keep your playlist, what are some of the other songs I'd be seeing there?
Look, you'll get
the most
played. I think the most played would be Dolly Parton. I've got her on repeat. I have Prince on repeat. I love listening to Elvis. I love rocking out to Elvis. And I love Dean Martin. I love the awesome old crooning from Dean Martin. I have George Strait on my playlist because I love George. So it's a pretty wide, vast range of music actually, and it's great. And I just have it on shuffle. It just keeps shuffling around. It's good fun.
There you go. Sounds like quite an eclectic smorgasbord. So
it is. Yeah. And I had some Johnny Cash on. I had some Johnny Cash, Man in Black. Love him. So yeah, it was a friend of mine from a few years ago who introduced me to Johnny Cash, and I just started listening to all of his old records. And wow, what a lyricist!
Well, you mentioned, what would Prince be doing now? I find it kind of amazing that all these years after his passing, what has become one of Johnny Cash's signature songs is, Run On, God's Gonna Cut You Down. And just, not only his vocals, I mean, some of the guitar licks in there.
Correct. That's right. And it's one of those things with my album as well. I don't just want the lyrics to stand out. I don't just want the melodies to stand out. That's why we brought Chris Pedersen in on guitars. We're talking Van Halen, Aerosmith, Billy Joel. He's the best of the best, Chris. And so that's why it was kind of funny approaching Chris too. Oh, hi, this is JD Reynolds. You don't know me. You've just played with Van Halen, but hey. Would you like to play my album? So I really wanted rememberable musicians and rememberable guitar parts and these fantastic licks and these solos. And I wanted the music to play just as an important role as what the lyrics play and the vocals play. And we've captured that amazingly. I'm very excited.
Well, good luck and good day.
Yeah, yeah. G'day from Australia, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you to all your listeners, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Yeah.